I said church with Jesse Lee Peterson is excellent. You can all check it out by going to rebuildingtheman.com/church, guys. That's what it is, rebuildingtheman.com/church. What's up, guys? It's 9:01 a.m. U.S. Pacific Daylight Time here in Los Angeles. It's Monday, September 6th, 2021 AD, Anno Domini, the year of our Lord. And speaking of our Lord, I have a fun show planned for you guys. But I have, before my fun show, some more Christian music. That's right. The Knights of the New Crusade was the band that I played last week. And the band that I'm going to play this week is the Knights of the New Crusade from their newer album from the one previously. Last week it was My God is Alive, Sorry About Yours. Songs in praise of our Lord God and in condemnation of sin. But this week it is a message, I think it's that, a challenge to the cowards of Christendom. A challenge to the cowards of Christendom. And the first song is called Cowards of Christendom. And again, no lyrics this time, just like last time, but hopefully you can understand most of what they are saying. Although they are, I think they're kind of liberals and Bible thumpers. I get that feeling. But enjoy it. I'll talk you through it, those of you who can't bear to hear this beautiful music, you musical Philistines. But we'll get started with the show. Hope you like it. Here's the Knights of the New Crusade.
Hey, Scoop!
Yeah?
What do you think of this new crusade?
Praise the Lord. We're saving souls.
Praise Jesus!
We hear from people who never read the Bible before.
Praise Jesus!
We hear from people that used to be lost in false beliefs.
Praise Jesus!
There are even people that used to worship Satan. Now they've given their lives to Jesus, and they say that we've helped them find him.
Praise Jesus! It's a blessing to do the Lord's work. But you know, some people don't seem to like us.
Well, Jesus did say we'd be hated for his sake.
Amen. But we've even got brothers in Christian rock bands that don't approve of our attitude.
Too Christian, too strong.
That's right. They seem to think the way to tell people about Jesus, the light of the world, is to hide him under a bushel basket. Then they parade that basket around.
What do they do then?
Well, they go and sell copies of the basket. But they don't try to share Jesus' life.
You can't preach the gospel without Jesus.
Yeah, they don't know what it means to be a knight. You with me on this, Lumpy?
Yeah.
How about you, John?
Most definitely.
All right, knight me! Knight me! Knight me! Knight me! We preach the gospel, and they say we're preaching hate. We're saving souls, but they say they can't relate.
They don't understand. We don't care about mass market appeal.
Just love of Jesus by whose grief our wounds were healed.
And keeping it real.
Knight me! Knight me! Knight me! Knight me!
You'll never get signed to a major label doing songs like this.
Good. I don't need that kind of temptation in my life.
Yeah, well, I think you're stupid, and you dress like murderers.
Hey, you're stupid too. We're all miserable sinners who fall short in the eyes of God. You know, some Christian bands will sell a lot of CDs, pile up earthly fortune and fame. They'll tell you that their songs praise Jesus.
So why are they afraid to use his name?
Heck of a crusade!
Hosanna, Jesus! Hallelujah, Jesus! Hosanna, Jesus! Our Savior!
Isn't that a lot of JPMs, Jesuses per minute? Hope you enjoyed that, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Sounds a lot like the Dead Milkman, but reborn, says one guy. Hey, Skip, what do you think of the new crusade? Praise Jesus. Anyway, guys, let's get right on with the show!
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
Hey, guys!
la la.
So, how are you guys all doing? I am fine. We're gonna have a fun, loosey-goosey holiday show, or is it not so holiday? Holiday, holy day. No, I don't think it's a holy day. Well, every day is, right? Skip says, Matt, if I'm ever riding with you and you play some of this, we're going to have to pull the truck over. You know, last week, many of you guys really loved that Ain't Got No Monkeys in My Family Tree song. This is garbage music. Sorry, I have to leave later, says San Diego Varsity Sports. Yikes. Whatever, man. Guys, I will be getting to your calls. 888-775-3773. There's one line open. Some of you already on hold. Some of you got on hold before we even started the video stream. Leave it alone, Hake, for the love of God. Anyway, yeah, 21 abortions. Black Stepdad says, what in the world? 21 abortions? If you're watching on the live video feed, during the intro, Chris, Skateboard White Chris, the man who's taken over Joel's position as the board operator, he showed some previews of some of the screenshots that I'm going to get to. And one of them is a woman who was wearing a t-shirt, a lady, and I use the term very loosely, with buttons on it. She's obviously an activist. I presume it's a lady. And she says, and her t-shirt says in a big banner across the t-shirt, from armpit to armpit, I've had 21 abortions. And it looks like it's a white lady. I'm not sure. Maybe she's not. Got some dark roots there. But then again, a lot of ladies have hair like that. So, yes, indeed, the women are evil. Supporting the killing of babies, pretending that, oh, since I am the one who has to carry a child to term, and I hate nature and nature's God and men and babies, I think I shall kill this baby inside my womb so that I don't have to go through the pains of childbirth and then have to be responsible for it. And yet they pretend that it's the man who's so irresponsible. And yeah, a lot of times males become irresponsible. But no. She certainly looks like she had 21 abortions, says Ledge Klinger. What a terrible shame. And also, somebody sent me a tip. Because I've mentioned this before. I've heard many people say it. I've heard Stefan Molyneux, who's appeared on the Jesse Lee Peterson show before, who's interviewed Jesse Lee Peterson before, who's now, I don't even know where he is, kicked off of the internet. He might stream, I think he streams on some other alternative channels, but he's been kicked off of YouTube. He pointed out that years back that women are more miserable today with all their so-called freedoms and equality than they ever were. And sure enough, there was a study that came out from 2008 talking about this very fact and citing all the supposed advances that women went through. What a joke. I noticed that Knights of the New Crusade song, it made me chuckle because it said, too Christian, too strong. And somebody gave a super chat. What was this? Where is it? Oh, there it is. Ledge Klinger. And other people were calling that rap, rhythm and punk, instead of rhythm and poetry. Is rap for rhythm short for rhythm and poetry, or was that just a catchy thing? I don't think it was. I'm not sure. But he said, too Christian, too strong. And that's a reference to, who was that, Public Enemy or NWA? I think it was Public Enemy who said, too black, too strong. Or maybe they pulled a clip of some black radical saying, too black, too strong. And so he's saying, too Christian, too strong. Okay. That's cute. And speaking of super chats, there was another. Thank you, Ledge Klinger, for the Trovo colorful chat. And thank you again for another Trovo colorful chat. Ledge Klinger says, welcome to the USSA, formerly known as the GOAT, G-O-A-T. We shall never see her like again. Thanks for showing up, Hake. Down to communism. By the way, don't you like my t-shirt? It's a Bond. It says Bond on it. It is a pro-Bond t-shirt. And it says 11th Annual Men's Conference, August 14th, 2021, Orlando, Florida. I don't even know if these are available online for sale. They were a special edition. And the back, it has a cool Bond thing. Pretty nice, huh? Old school look. I got this one, I think, from Hassan. I think he's the one who made those. So right on. Thank you, Hassan, the rapper. The sand N-word. Gah. That's cool. GOAT equals greatest of all time. Indeed. Yes, that's what that means. And USSA is the United, so-called United, Socialist States of America, right? I think something to that effect, USSA. It's a play off of the USSR, which was the Soviet Union, which was a major communist country that we let slide in World War II. And then we weren't tough against the commies and females in America, and the blacks. And now we're even catering to the gay commies. I remember, what's his name? The legendary radio host, Rush Limbaugh, used to call the women, the females, feminazis. More like femicommies. And communism is quite in vogue. Whoa, 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 turn around, Hake. Is that a bald spot? It is a little thin. It's not completely bald, but yes, it is a little thin there. Taking care of business, Bear. Nice. Indeed. I wonder if that's from all those rock stars that I was drinking. Don't know. Don't know. Hake owns up to it. Anyway, let me get to some calls. I have some headlines to read for you. Pete Buttigieg was allowed to somehow, I don't know what they did to get a couple of kids. Pete Buttigieg is that guy who was the mayor of South Bend, Indiana. What a shame. A radical homosexual, pretends he's a Christian, and he's so-called married. So-called married to a male. Chasten. Ugh. And now he has two babies. They have two babies. A boy and a girl. Obviously by a woman. They had to go outside, just as the great JLP stated they had to go outside of their homosexuality in order to get babies. But these babies might or might not be related to them. Or maybe they're adopted. Don't even know. But the people are, it's really baiting. I see these things as kind of baiting. It's baiting the people to hate them. The normal people who, or at least the people who know this is not normal, to hate them. Doesn't that it's just wrong. Why are they in the hospital? Asks Chris. Yeah. Terrible. And it just makes you want to cuss or spit or something. Throw up. Like they gave birth. Yeah, that's Uncle Ted 88. Yeah, it's sick. Maybe they are newborn babies and they went to the hospital. Maybe they had like one of those women who were, what do they call them? A woman who will have a baby for so-called parents who can't become parents. And it really just tempts you to be like, if you have any anger in you, it brings that out because it's so sick. And the people who agree with it also brings the ugliness out of them too, because they'll be like, oh, conservative Christians, mind blown. Because the conservative Christians are like, don't get an abortion, adopt. I don't even think that people should adopt out for the most part. I think they should keep the baby and raise the baby, right? Because the child wants his own parents. Look at Colin Kaepernick. He's such a mess. He's adopted. Anyway, I'll get to that and more. Fake news fact checks. The fact check makes the scandal even worse. Like this. Anyway, I'll get to all of that stuff because Biden checked his watch. There was a meme going around of Biden checking his watch, and then the fake news is like, "Oh, you can't make Biden out to be a phony." And I saw that. I'm like, "Oh, okay, funny. They caught him." And like I didn't really care, but then the fake news cover up for it is worse. It's kind of like Adam and Eve eating the fruit, the forbidden fruit, and then making it worse. They blame others and then say, "It wasn't me. It was this woman you gave me. It wasn't me. It was this serpent." Terrible. But anyway, let me get to Justin from Tyler, Texas. He has a story to tell. Justin, thank you for calling, man. Thank you for holding. What's up?
Hey, how's one of my favorite hosts of all time doing?
Doing well, man. How are you?
Yep, I'm doing good. I actually used to live in Big Sandy. I decided, you know what? I'm going to go to, and don't take this the wrong way, I decided, you know what? I'm going into radio, TV broadcast, and I decided, you know what? The best way to go is a community called that respects free speech, and I found one.
Tyler, Texas is a community that does that?
Yep, they respect free speech. Well, TJC does. That's the college I'm at.
Okay.
And they have, before I get to the main thing, they have Turning Point here.
TJC is short. TJC is short for Tyler Junior College. Okay, cool.
Yep. They have a Turning Point here, and I think that that's awesome. I joined without hesitation because I love it. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about the coronavirus vaccines being out there. My mom, she took her first shot a few weeks ago, and now she's regretting it because she's having some really bad symptoms. She's having nerve damage, Tourette's-like symptoms. She's starting to experience pain. Her immune system's starting to weaken, and she's barely able to do things because of it.
Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't mind my asking, what age group is your mother? 30s, 40s?
She's early. I think she just turned 40.
And is she like overweight or anything? Was she like at risk?
No, she's actually dieted, and she is well within the right at, not underweight, not overweight kind of area.
Is she active?
She is pretty active, yeah.
Man. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. That is, that's the risk that you run because you don't know what you're getting into.
To add insult to injury, this is bloodline also. So if I take it, I might have the same stuff because she went to a doctor's appointment. This is how she found out about it, and the doctor also told her if I take it, given that I'm a part of her bloodline, I might actually be susceptible to it.
Right? Are people trying to make you take it?
No, thank God. Here at TJC, they respect whether or not you want to take it. The people here, here at TJC, there are about 12,000 people that are enrolled. I have seen maybe one or two even highly recommending the vaccine. The rest don't care. If you get it, great. If you don't, it's all right.
Okay.
I mean, look, and
12,000.
This is the thing. My mom said this, and I do kind of agree with it. This isn't necessarily to say don't take it, but proceed with extreme caution.
Yeah,
know what you're getting into.
Yeah. Informed consent. That's just common sense.
Exactly. Now, I am against the government giving forced vaccines because the government has no right to do that. That's my libertarian coming out. But at the same time, if you want to get the vaccine and you know that it's going to be good for you, you know you're not going to get any risks, take it. But if there's a risk for you and you're like, nah, I'm not going to do this, you should have a right to do that too.
Do you know if Joe Rogan took the vaccine? or no?
I don't know. I know that he got the virus, but I don't know if
okay.
he got the vaccine. I think he used one of those homemade remedies or something.
Right. And how old are you, Justin?
I just turned 18 about 6 months ago. So.
Wow. Happy birthday. It's my birthday too,
Thanks, man.
My birthday was within the last 6 months too.
Nice, man. But yeah,
well,
I just
man,
turned 18.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Let me know how it goes for her. If things wane off or if they persist, and if they.
I'm hoping they wean off, and it seems like they just might.
And
but
is the doctor saying that it's definitely from the vaccine, or he's not positive, or what?
I think when my mom told me, he said that he is positive, but he can't say it's directly. Like, he can't say, don't get the shot. He can't say directly that it's the coronavirus, but he was trying to speak, saying that it was the vaccine without saying it is the vaccine.
Right. I hear...
Because doctors can get in trouble for that.
Yeah. They can get in trouble, for one, they shouldn't say something that they don't know to be true, which so many of them do. And then for two, there's also the political aspect of you can get in trouble for telling the truth.
And even then.
And where are you from originally? You were from
Big Sandy.
Big Sandy. Where's Big Sandy in Texas? I'm just curious.
About 30 minutes away from Tyler. About half an hour away from Tyler, half an hour away from Longview. And this is the thing. Back to my mom's stuff. I mean, it may only be temporary, and the thing is, there has been studies going on where they found out that what the vaccine does is it weakens your immune system so that it can get the vaccine. It won't do anything to you, but you'll get the virus. It'll weaken your immune system, but it'll get you more used to it. And when you're done with it, which it could take up to, I think, 25 days, it makes it to where you're stronger than ever against it. But even then, she's getting more than just that. I mean, I can understand if her immune system's a little weaker. That is a somewhat intended side effect of the vaccine. What it's doing is it's trying to get used to the coronavirus vaccine. But getting all these other symptoms, it's really scaring me. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Your father and mother are married, right?
It's my stepfather and mother.
Okay.
There was a divorce.
Okay.
And even my pop, who is still a little skeptical about the virus, he did his own research, and I mean, look, he may get it himself, but he's done his own research about it. At first, he was like, "Don't get it, don't get it, don't get it. It's government conspiracy." But he did some research and found out maybe it'll work, maybe it won't.
Right.
You know? And people say that it affects your DNA. DNA cannot be changed. RDA can.
No, it can.
DNA can.
I heard that it can.
No.
Oh, I don't know. What did you said? RNA can.
DNA cannot be changed unless it's by God. That's how one of my friends put it.
And then you said RNA can.
RDA. That's the information that can be modified, apparently. Now, I don't know if this is necessarily true or not. That's why I'm not saying this is a fact, this is true.
Right.
I'm just saying this is what I've heard.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it, man. Yeah. Thank you, Justin. And yeah, definitely let me know what goes on with your mother. I am curious because it feels like
more than likely she's gonna get better, but this is a really big scare.
Yeah. All right, Justin. Yeah. I wish you well over at Tyler Junior College. That's a community college over there, right? Like a 2-year? Nice.
Yep, 2 years, living in a dorm, and I don't regret a minute of it.
Okay. Well, take care, man.
All right, talk to you later.
All right. I hear that you hear stuff from the regular people. The way that the regular people talk makes it seem like what the mainstream media is doing. Yeah, he's talking about RNA, not DNA. DNA can, in fact, be altered. RNA, maybe RNA cannot. Ribonucleic acid cannot, maybe. DNA can. Deoxyribonucleic acid. That's right. I remember learning that from Dr. Singh, who used to appear sometimes on the Jesse Lee Peterson show. He did say DNA can be changed. even just not necessarily by taking these things, these weird artificial things. I think it's the way you live, you can change it. That was the implication that I got. But it feels like there is a lot of suppression and a bias against reporting on the drawbacks. RNA, not RDA. Yeah. Oh, you can alter both. Okay. There is a drawback. There are drawbacks or potential flaws or potential side effects. And also, this thing is not fully studied. But they want control. Mama. And there's a big push, too, because what are they called? The hospitals? They're getting the ICU, intensive care units, are starting to get close to being overwhelmed, near capacity. Which, honestly, that happens like every year, I think. Every year, I feel like, at least since they've been pushing the flu vaccine, which has been around for 10, 12 years, or at least the mandates for it have been around for 10 or 12 years or more. It seems like they've been pushing, the mainstream media has been reporting all hyped about, all worried about people with the flu overwhelming the hospitals. And I suspect that that's partly because of how fat and unhealthy many Americans' habits are. I suspect it's partly that. It's also partly we're bringing in all these. JLP has been talking about the illegal aliens disease for years. The so-called illegal aliens disease. Oh, that sounds so xenophobic. ICU is always busy, says Lindy. Yeah, in some cases, they don't have many rooms at all. ICU, intensive care units. So we're going to have to start rationing who gets a ICU bed and who doesn't. Have to make these difficult choices. There was a fake news report. I think I heard that this was fake news, that people who were taking that horse dewormer, the ivermectin, which the mainstream media has labeled, it's commonly known as a horse dewormer, and it's used for farm animals. But there's also a version used for human beings to deal with worms and river blindness and stuff like that. Roundworm. I guess not to be confused with tapeworm, I guess. But people have been taking ivermectin, and they've been overdosing on the horse dewormer and going to the hospitals. And so gunshot victims were left waiting, according to some doctor in Oklahoma. This is a headline from Rolling Stone, or a tweet from Rolling Stone. Gunshot victims left waiting as horse dewormer overdoses overwhelm Oklahoma hospitals, says a doctor. An insider headline. Oklahoma's ERs are so backed up with people overdosing on ivermectin that gunshot victims are having to wait to be treated, a doctor says. Rachel Maddow, the lesbian from MSLSD. Patients overdosing on ivermectin backing up rural Oklahoma hospitals and ambulances. The scariest one I've heard seen is people coming up with vision lost, he said. Ivermectin. The Guardian, Oklahoma hospitals deluged by ivermectin. Daily Mail, anti-parasite drug. And it turned out that may not be true, I think. The Hill, New York Daily News, Newsweek, and the Rolling Stone even used a picture of people waiting outside with their masks. I mean, their tweet, because you know how if you're a media outlet, you have to include a picture with your tweet, then it gets more attention, right? A picture with your headline. But that picture was actually from January of this year, outside some church where people were in line to organize an event to help blacks, encourage blacks to get the vaccine because blacks weren't getting the vaccine. They don't pay attention to that stuff, and I don't blame them. Although they just don't pay attention to that stuff, period. So it turned out that they are hyping stuff that's not true. There's a whole lot of hype about this gun violence stuff. The doctor who said that got called out by the hospital, according to Uncle Ted 88. It is fake. He lied. Crazy. I can't bring myself to be that interested to even look into these things. But I'm going to talk about this other fake news one about Biden checking his watch, but let me get to another caller. Let me get to T in Alabama. T, how are you doing, man? Good to hear from you.
I'm doing good. Yeah, same here.
Cool. Happy Labor Day, communist holiday.
Why you call it that, man?
Because it's promoting the unions, which were, without a doubt, a major communist influence in America. And now a lot of the unions and union workers are disillusioned by the communism that their organizations helped usher in. They were useful idiots, and now they're being betrayed. Poor guys.
Y'all getting paid holiday pay for being on the air today, man?
If we're on the air, we're getting paid normal pay. What the heck?
Okay.
What's your point? What's your point in asking that question?
I'm just asking, man.
What's holiday pay even mean? I've never heard of that.
Well, I mean,
Does that mean double time or something like that?
Yeah, it's a federal holiday where you get your time and a half or something.
Oh yeah, people get paid time and a half or double time and stuff like that. That's union stuff. That's maybe federal law, huh? Or state law or something like that.
Why just ain't keep the office open, man?
No. Nothing like that.
Oh, okay. He closed the office because of the holiday, right?
Yeah, but it's nothing holy about this holiday. Holiday is short for holy day. There's nothing holiday about it.
Y'all sitting there calling it a communist and all that, but he closed it down. I guess he didn't want to pay you that holiday pay, right? That's what that is.
Nothing holiday about it. He closed it up because we normally take the day off. We didn't know anything about it.
Oh, okay.
It's not about pay or not pay. T, why you such a woman?
Asking,
why are you such a woman?
No, I just asked
No,
you a question.
you're coming in here like a snake and a woman asking about pay. It's not even your business.
Yeah.
Why are you meddling in people's business?
But anyway, Jay.
Why are you meddling in? Answer the question. Why are you meddling in people's business?
I just asked you a question.
No, why are you asking a question about people's business? This is private business.
I was curious.
It's private information.
Okay, let's put it like this. All right. Okay.
Yeah, why are you so curious?
Okay.
Why are you so curious?
Let me get to my question, man.
Why are you so curious about stuff like this?
Don't come up with a reason to hang the phone up, man.
No, why you answer the question?
That's what you're trying to build up to, brother. That's all you're trying to do.
No, brother. Answer the question. Answer the question, T.
You're just trying to start.
You want me to go? You want me to hang up on you? Because I will if you don't want to answer.
That's what you want to do, hey? But
all right.
Like I said, I told you.
All right. Nice talking with you. What a mess. I don't know. Something about this snake venom stops the virus from reproduction. Doesn't seem to kill anything, but no babies means everything dies. Kind of sounds like the whites, says Dr. ADD. I don't know. I thought he was talking about... I saw him mention snake. And I thought he was talking about tea. Tea's a mess. Anyway, T, thank you for your call. Happy Labor Day, communist holiday. Mind your own business. Don't be such a woman. One more call. Stewart in Massachusetts, guys. He's been on hold for some time. Stewart, what's up?
Not much. I just wanted to call in about, you already kind of covered it, but I guess from what I understand is Joe Rogan took ivermectin and beat it.
He took a bunch of, well, for one thing, show this picture of this other guy, this boxer, Oscar De La Hoya.
Oh,
who
yeah,
was,
I was talking about him with my friend.
I heard, I was perusing at IG, Russian _troll _gang, Russian troll gang. It's this Hispanic guy. He said, he shared this picture. Oscar de la Hoya is in hospital with COVID after being double vaxxed. Yet the pro-vax fanatics are all mad that unvaxxed Joe Rogan got better in 2 days with no hospital. And Rogan, one of the main differences between these two guys, in my opinion, is they're probably roughly the same age. I want to say they're in their 50s. But I see Joe Rogan as fairly fit, active. He's not that fat. He's pretty active and healthy. Whereas when I've seen Oscar de la Hoya, he seemed like he had gained some excess fat. And so he wasn't keeping those healthy habits. And that to me seems like the primary difference. Whereas, Joe Rogan, he took that thing and he took a bunch of other stuff. He said his doctor threw the kitchen sink at it or something like that. And Uncle Ted, 88, says, Psh, De La Hoya just said he got COVID just to get out of that fight because he has a fight coming up. Joe Rogan had to cancel something because he got that thing. Oscar is in better health than Joe Rogan, says Uncle Ted 88. Maybe so, but the last time I saw him on that Mike Tyson hotboxing thing, and he was looking kind of fat to me. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, he Stewart, you're right. I think from what I understand, one took the vaccine, the other didn't. The other took more of the bunch of other drugs once he caught it.
It doesn't sound like Oscar de la Hoya to run from an exhibition fight, really, though. Or no, it's not an exhibition. I think it's a real fight. But either way, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. But I remember when he was young, he was fit. I don't know. He was training for a fight, so he was fit. That's true. Well, all right. Maybe I'd take that back, but
I heard
De La Hoya is 48.
Japan,
He's 48.
I heard even Japan. This is what I've been reading. A lot of my stuff I get from Infowars because they're usually ahead of the news,
right?
The fake news here. But I've heard Japan is switching over to ivermectin. And also, Rachel Maddow, man, I saw the rant she went on, and she was saying like injectable, almost like she was trying to lead people to believe that you inject it with a needle, which is false. It just has like a plastic injector, and you like squirt it into a cow's mouth or whatever. You do it orally. But the way she was putting it, she was just literally trying to scare people. Literally, I saw that whole rant that she went on. So the media is complicit in this too, apparently.
Yeah, it's hard to know the truth because this is all so new. So
yeah, and plus, I mean, I've been watching. Almost every time I try to watch the news, there's like 10 commercials from these big pharmaceutical companies. So they're kind of bought and paid for. I just wanted to talk about that though. I guess have a good day.
All right.
I love your show, man.
Appreciate that, Stewart. Thank you, man. Take care.
All right. Yep.
All right. What says Infowars is controlled opposition, and Stephen Will says, "Oh Lord, Infowars haters, don't be hating." Yeah, I don't know anything about this ivermectin thing, but it seems like they're the ones politicizing it as much as anyone. The so-called experts and all that stuff. Can we get some AC in here? Let's turn on the air conditioning. Ivermectin is a shot too, says Bradley Smith. Yeah, like drinking or injecting bleach that they were hung up on. Yeah, Butch. Shout out to the Facebook crew. They were like, oh, Trump said that we should just drink bleach. I think that he said, didn't he say that sunlight is a disinfectant and that there's a disinfectant that you can put in and it's called that? And it was fake news. Just like Trump saying, well, everybody hypes that the Nazis are very fine people thing. They are liars, and then they accuse Trump of being a liar. What a joke. What a mess. Let me just show this real quick. Thank you, Nicolas. Let me show this fact check. Hake, your forehead is shining, James. Thank you, Marty. Let me show this fact check. Fact check, fact check. This is from USA Today. After Sleepy Biden and the whole corrupt administration and incompetent administration let that terror attack happen, it sounds like, from what I heard, that the Americans were letting the Taliban be the security guards, the security perimeter around that Kabul airport where we were supposedly going to be flying Americans back home, but instead we flew mostly a bunch of foreigners home, so-called home. And a suicide bomber or two from supposedly ISIS-K, Special K. They got in and killed 100 people, more than 100 people, I think, including 13 Americans, including like a woman or two, a female military person. Your forehead is fine. Thank you, Canadian David. And so we got those bodies sent home in caskets with American flags draped over them. And usually Trump, the president, the real president, will be saluting it and serious. And he's always loved our veterans. Always. He's always been like that. He's always loved America. Fact check, fact check, fact check. I'm imitating Hillary Clinton in the debate. And this time, there was a ceremony with Sleepy Joe Biden, the phony person, total phony, who checked his watch. And I thought, oh, okay, cool. Nice gotcha, guys. Because I'm figuring, they caught him checking his watch. Because, I don't know, sometimes you just have to check your watch, right? And it made it look like he doesn't care. But we all know he doesn't actually care. Whether he checked his watch out of boredom or not, we know that he doesn't care. But indeed, it turned out, according to people on C-SPAN and according to so-called Gold Star families, who are the relatives of people who died, he did indeed check his watch multiple times throughout the ceremony. And maybe he's not all there. The real president? Are you guys insane? I'm saying he was real. I'm saying he was a real man. He was a real person. And he is probably the only real president that we've had in my lifetime. Besides, I guess you could consider, when I was born, it was Ronald Reagan. He seemed like a real president. He might have even been a real Christian, from what I understand. But the Bushes, the Clintons, the Obamas, bunch of phonies. And Sleepy Joe is in that tradition of phoniness. Oh, Trump is breaking norms because he's real. That's what I mean by real. Joe Biden is the totally real president. But look at this picture. Well, look at this. Yeah, look at this picture. There was this meme going around. Many memes, different memes. And this was put up on Facebook. Biden checks his watch. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Sleepy Biden checking his watch. And even Jill Biden has her hand over her, where supposedly her heart is. Dr. Jill Biden. And then meanwhile, you have Trump in the dark, saluting. Taking it seriously because it is serious. And is that Melania next to him? The first lady? A real lady? One of the first times we've had a real lady in office. I think she was probably better than Nancy Reagan. I heard that Nancy Reagan was kind of a kook. Not to slur her, but that's what I heard. And so there were all these fact checks. There was a fact check from USA Today. Fact check from USA Today from Daniel Funke. Funky? Fact check, Biden honored service members killed in Kabul. That's not a fact. That's not established as a fact. He dishonors those people by being the so-called president. Just by existing, he's a dishonorable person. He's a phony. And they said, he saluted the caskets of the fallen service members. The claim is Donald Trump saluted the caskets of the fallen U.S. service members while Joe Biden checked his watch. And at first they said he checked his watch after the ceremony. But no, with the full video, you can see he checked it multiple times throughout the ceremony. So they were so insecure about this incident, which I didn't think twice about it. I'm like, it's a silly gotcha. It's a silly gotcha. It is accurate that he doesn't care, but I'm sure he pretended outwardly like he cared about them. Well, maybe he's so far gone that he's checking his watch and just out to lunch. And so this one guy says, new fact check, September 1st. A viral photo makes it look like President Biden checked his watch during a ceremony honoring U.S. service members killed in Kabul, but that's misleading. The way Biden honored the 11 caskets presented at Dover Air Force Base on Sunday was similar to how Trump paid respects to the fallen service members. By the way, he's outdoors wearing a mask, looking silly. Biden checked his watch, but he did so after the ceremony had ended. Watch the video for yourself. And then September 3rd, 2 days later, as many of you already know, the story has been corrected. Biden checked his watch multiple times during the ceremony. I regret the error. And by the way, I looked up the Twitter bio of this Daniel Funke guy for USA Today. He is checking facts and covering misinformation at USA Today. Proud alum at PolitiFact, Poynter, University of Georgia. Tips, hoaxes, and memes at Daniel D. Funke at USA Today. Also, he is a he/him, and he has a rainbow flag. And that makes me wonder, is this guy a radical homosexual? It makes it look like he's a radical homosexual because he has that rainbow, not the bow, but the rainbow colors and horizontal lines in his he/him thing in his Twitter bio. What the heck? If you go to that first one, that first of his tweets up in the upper right, you can see that. You can show that to the people, Chris. Just to prove that I'm not crazy. It makes me think that he is a LGBT. Nasty. Gay fact check one tweets. Look at that. Am I misinterpreting him? Am I jumping to conclusions by him doing that? I think that makes him I think that indicates that he's a gay. Or he thinks he's a gay. What is it with gay fact checkers? I feel like there's a CNN guy who's in this field of fact checking. And he does it wrong. And then later he goes, journalists and fact checkers. So he admits that, oh, yes, indeed, Biden checked his watch multiple times and we corrected it. And we changed it from misleading to lacking context, whatever that even means. He checked his watch multiple times. He's a phony. But then he says, journalists and fact checkers, this Daniel Funke guy, are human. Yes, even me. And this is why Christians shouldn't use this same excuse. I'm human. Nobody's perfect. That's a worldly thing to say. We make mistakes. When we do, we correct them and try to make it right. Read more about the principles we try to uphold at USA Today. It's easy to dunk on journalists when we get things wrong. I get it. To many, we're just another name on the screen. But behind that screen is a person trying to do their best, says Daniel Funke. I thought he was a he/him. He's not a they, not a there. Journalist trying to do his best. person trying to do his best, Daniel. Get it right. Can't even get your grammar right. The heck? Putting your pronouns in your bio shows you're a commie, says Free Ross. Oh, yeah, that's true, too. So he's a radical homosexual communist? Is that what you're telling me? Makes sense. USA Today is far left. They are enemies of the people. By the way, the first meme that I showed you with Sleepy Joe and Trump, Sleepy Joe checking his watch. Meanwhile, at a different scene, Trump was saluting. That may have been censored by Facebook. I'm not positive. But it looks like it was censored by Facebook. And I happen to know, I have heard it, and you've heard it too, that these phony establishment social media people are relying on independent fact checkers to combat misinformation. But these people are the pushers of lies. USA Today, PolitiFact, what's that other one? Snopes. Bunch of liberals. Total liberals. They're not into the truth. Give me a break. Uncle Ted 88 says, I checked. He is, in fact, a homosexual. A germal journo. Well, he's not even that. He's just a radical into the pushing the radical homosexuality thing. Because I really love that lesson from Jesse Lee Peterson, Church with Jesse Lee Peterson, and he said it on his radio show, that these people are not even transgender and stuff like that. There's no such thing. Homosexual and all that. It's what they got into in their fallen state, just as some of you guys and us got into like drinking or pot or whatever other mess. And then people call themselves alcoholic, but that's not reality. It's reality. No one is perfect, says Richard Del Monte, who's like a resident liberal. He's like a mini top beta. Trump literally waved the rainbow flag. He didn't put it in his bio. He did it because he loves the gays. He's from New York. And you should love everybody, but you shouldn't wave the flag. I disagree with him doing that. Because that's validating their delusion, their immorality, which is not a good thing. He shouldn't have done that. AOC's pronouns are hee-haw. Hee-haw. Funny, Colin. There was I saw, I think is Owen Benjamin still on IG somehow? I feel like I saw an Owen Benjamin picture or meme that he saw somebody who's refusing to sell horse dewormer, ivermectin, unless you bring your horse with you. And so it had this guy next to Horsey Face, Cortez. Because she's got a mouthful of teeth. Kind of a long face. I am not Seabiscuit. My name is Penelope Cruz. Anyway, so to me, they made it worse than had they just left it alone. Had they just left it alone, it would have been like, oh, we're secure. Because we know that Joe Biden really does have compassion. He fakes like he has it, and all the females, the liberal females, fall for it. Some of the females don't. Richmond's a troll. It's funny. Yeah. Anyway, let me quickly get to Mark in Santa Monica, California. He's been on hold for some time. Mark, thank you for holding, man. What's up? How are you?
Very good, sir. I agree with everything you say, but on the union issue, I would differ. First off, May 1st, not today, is the Commie Day. That's International Workers' Day.
I agree. That's
not
one
today, though.
That's one too. I think they're both communists.
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
Let me say this about the unions, though. There's nothing wrong with the police union. There's a lot wrong with the teachers' unions. There's nothing wrong with the Teamsters union. There's a lot wrong with government unions. And the reason I say that is because I've worked for civil service where we had a union, and if you're right of center and you express yourself, especially if you work in an educational environment, they will try to burn you. And the only regress you have are the unions. There is no NAAWP. The NAACP will help the colored guy, or they'll help some Hispanic groups will help them. But if you're a white man, all you've got is the union. And they've protected me personally. And one last thing I should put out here. If it wasn't for the unions, we wouldn't have weekends off. We wouldn't have Christmas break. We wouldn't have Easter break. We'd be making slave wages. And I think overall the unions have done good. But unfortunately, the communists have infected them. Ronald Reagan, before he was president of the United States, was president of the Screen Actors Guild in the 50s, specifically to root out communists. So the theory of a union to help workers, particularly at this time, white workers who are discriminated against without any other group to help them. Again, the blacks have the NAACP and the Hispanics have La Raza and these other commie groups. We have nobody except the unions. And so before you attack the union, keep that in mind. And I'm not disagreeing with you, James. I hate the teachers' unions. I think they're full of communist swine. I think the Screen Actors Guild union, communist swine. But the police union, let me ask you, do you oppose the police union?
Not necessarily, but sometimes, let's see, Asmodor says police unions are absolutely an abomination because you have a government official negotiating with cops for your money. Same with all public sector unions. I think that they are, and the unions today are extremely anti-white. I don't know about back then, but they are off the deep end. I don't know about the Teamsters specifically. I think that generally unions support Democrats. And Trump got some union, like the actual guys who do work. He got some of the unions on his side, and Biden pretends like he's for the unions, and so he suckers a bunch of them. What do you say?
Well, I don't completely agree. I hate to disagree with you because I love you, but if you're old enough to remember when Reagan ran for president, he went to the unions. He wore one of those UAW hats, and he was a conservative Republican. Here's the thing, James. The union members tend to be more conservative. It's the leadership that's full of communist traitors. But the union members, by and large, supported Trump and Reagan. But they went against their leadership to do so. In regards to Reagan, though, he did bust the PATCO union. That's true. I know somebody's probably going to bring that up.
What's PATCO?
But the air traffic controllers. Oh, okay. He fired them, back in the early 80s because they struck, and they had an agreement in their contract, a no-strike agreement, and they broke it. Okay, so you could say Reagan did a good thing, but after that, the influence of unions in America decreased. Private sector unions. Public sector unions are growing because they're government workers. But as far as the police unions go, if it wasn't for their unions, they would have nobody to back them up when blacks filed frivolous lawsuits, and some whites, against them. That's all they have is the union, and they have a right to make good money, and they have a right to have a contract to negotiate that with, like any other public sector union. What I don't understand is this guy that wrote you a note telling you that police unions basically suck. What does he propose they do to protect our police officers? What would he do to protect them? And one last thing, how do you square the fact that if it wasn't for unions, we wouldn't have weekends off, holidays, and decent pay? How do you shoot that argument down?
For one, I don't know if that's true, because it's kind of like saying, had we never fought the Civil War, slavery wouldn't have ended. Which I think is a lie. So I don't know. Because I don't know history. I can't say how good or bad the unions originally were. But the weekend, I don't know. I think we should have. I'm not sure. I did hear that Saturday, Sunday. I guess it's kind of nice to have one day that's different, and then Sunday I don't know. It's nice to have one day off. I'm for one day off, but I don't know about two.
If you look at the Carnegies back in Pennsylvania, back 100 years ago, 120 years ago, they treated their workers like slaves. Right. And that's when the union movement started. Shortly after that, about 100 and some years ago, it was because the conditions were oppressive. But I agree with you. Today's unions are out of hand. The teachers' union is the worst. Now, lastly, what do you think of those pipe fitter unions that were laid off by Biden after they supported him, the guys that were building the Canadian pipeline, the pipeline through the U.S. that Biden shut down? Those were all union jobs. They endorsed him, and he burned them. See,
they get what they deserve because they should not have supported an evil man knowing that he was evil. You know what I mean?
Well, I think a lot of the members did vote for Trump. Right. Again, it was the union leadership.
So if the leadership is corrupt, what makes the unions themselves good? If the leadership is corrupt. I mean, I love America, even though the leadership is corrupt. So I know I can kind of relate to what you're saying, that, you still should love the unions because the unions, originally, they helped you. And how well did the police union protect Derek Chauvin in St. Louis?
Well, that was a separate type of a case. I agree. They failed him. I agree.
Yeah.
But that union president in Minnesota, Minneapolis, where Chauvin worked, he supported Trump. I saw him on stage in Minnesota in 2016 endorsing President Trump. I think they were out to get the union, these militant black radicals in Minnesota. They were out to get the union and anybody that defended police officers. In fact, one union leader had his house targeted by these snakes.
Right.
They went to his house. So you can't blame the union. Sometimes the system is so overwhelming.
I'm definitely not blaming the unions entirely, but at root, I don't know if people claim, Black Lives Matter started out good, but that's not even true. They started out evil from the very beginning. And I suspect that a lot, if not all, maybe not all, but a lot of these unions, maybe I would say most of these unions started out with communist intent. Just like we've learned that there was like a Marxist motive in the Civil War and tearing down America.
Yes.
There is definitely that. Asmodor says, when I was an AFL-CIO union man, the union did little to nothing for us and promoted Bill Clinton knowing he would sign NAFTA and took our union dues to give his campaign millions. And NAFTA destroyed union jobs just like Sleepy Joe did with the pipeline thing, the pipeline cancellation.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. And there was a time in America when unions opposed illegal immigration because they knew it would affect American workers, but they've done a turn on that. They've turned on us in that respect. I don't know if they were bought off or whatever, but basically, James, if you were to work at a civil service job and you had to join a union, they would get you benefits. And this person that said he was in the AFL-CIO and they betrayed everybody by supporting Clinton.
Right.
I'm not for Clinton. I hated Clinton's guts. But ask that guy if the AFL-CIO got them raises, protected many workers for illegal termination, and did a lot of the things that unions were supposed to be and have been created for. They weren't created to impose communism, and that's why Reagan tried to stop it in the 50s. When he became head of the Screen Actors Guild, and there have been a lot of patriotic people that were in the union, guys that were veterans.
I don't doubt that. There's going to be people. There's going to be, especially in a working world, there's going to be some decent working people who go in, who are forced into these unions, whether willingly or unwillingly. That's not my argument at all. There are some union people who, pretty much every time I talk crap about the unions, there are some people who work unions who are decent people who call in and say, hey, it's not all bad, or we're not all bad, or whatever. And I'm not saying all union members are bad. I'm talking about the unions themselves. Asmodor says that the unions have been run by communists and organized crime since the very beginning. Watch Hoffa, who's of the Teamsters. Hoffa. Have you ever heard of Hoffa?
Mm-hmm. Oh, sure, James Hoffa.
And then he says also that Labor Day is for the labor movement, which is completely different from the actual workers. The labor movement, which was a socialist.
What is May 1st supposed to stand for?
May
Those
Day
are when the commies come out.
Yeah, that's communist too. That's communist too.
Well,
but
that's openly communist. I mean, they don't even deny it.
Yeah. This was
I don't,
beginning in the late 19th century. As the trade union and labor movements grew, trade unionists proposed that a day be set aside to celebrate labor. And it was promoted by the Central Labor Union, the Knights of Labor, KNIGHT, first organized in New York City. Oregon was the first state in America to make it an official public holiday. 30 states in America were celebrating Labor Day by the time they made it official in 1894.
Well, let me just say this to that. If it wasn't for unions, there would be no middle class in the United States. There would only be rich elitists and the poor servant class. If it wasn't for the unions giving us decent wages and giving us benefits and everything else, there would have been no middle class. And I know, and I agree with you, they've been twisted and they're communist and they suck. A lot of them do. The teachers union should be defunded. I hate their guts. But the general union in general have conservative members and traders at the top. And I think that's really the problem. But do you dispute the fact that had it not been for the unions, there would not be a middle class today in America?
I can't dispute it because I just don't know. I don't understand the workings of that stuff. But I doubt it, but I can't say that it's not true or true. In fact, I'll tell you, I don't even like the notion of middle class. That's a communist idea itself, you know? This whole class thing is a false idea. And America, I mean, I don't like these big companies getting in bed with the government and then they can just do whatever they want to the people. Or these big companies being able to do whatever they want to the people, which they're doing to this day. And so,
to this day,
I don't know, man.
Well, let me ask you, James,
Asmodor, in answer to your question about the AFL-CIO, he said they did not get us anything. We made $9 an hour, no paid sick time, and they closed the factory and moved it to Mexico.
Well, the last thing probably did happen. About the Mexico thing.
Yeah.
But as far as wages go, the AFL, if you're a member of that union, generally you make good money. You've got benefits.
That's my other problem.
Program.
That's my other problem is people get more than they deserve. They get these union breaks are pretty notorious in companies where they just take a 15-minute break after working for an hour and a half or something like that. And it's overboard. It reminds me of OSHA. You know OSHA that's supposed to protect you from safety standards? They go overboard. And the unions bite off more than they deserve.
Well, let me finish with this question to you.
All right.
Was there a middle class in America before the advent of unions?
Probably so.
I can answer that for you.
I don't know what middle class even means. But there were
it goes by your income.
There were free
your
Americans. There were free Americans who did fine for themselves, and life was tough back then. And life is supposed to be tough. Look how this spoiling life that we have has corrupted people.
Agreed,
and unions participated in getting people spoiled and fat.
Well, what about the elitists who run these companies that the union negotiates contracts with?
I'm not defending them. They are evil.
Right.
I'm not defending them.
But we have to deal with them. How else do the workers make a decent wage, and you have to deal with the devil? You ought to see the history of the Carnegies in Pennsylvania, where the birthplace of the unions were. You'll see that the conditions were terrible for American workers, and the unions were what brought in the middle class. I hate communism. I agreed with what Reagan and Trump tried to do. I think that Reagan trying to weed out the communists of the union was a good thing. And I believe in some unions, but not all. I think the police union is great. And I think the teachers union are Satan's boys.
Yeah, they
are. That's my view. But anyway, I love you, James, and I thank you for the time.
Yeah, thank you, man. Interesting conversation. Take care, Mark.
God bless. Bye-bye.
You too. All right, guys, we are at 10 after 10 a.m. already. I just meant to have like a quick conversation with him, but it was kind of interesting. I have more calls to get to. I'm going to talk about some other headlines, gun violence, hype, and all that madness. But first, another song from the Knights of the New Crusade. I hope you like this one. I think you will. It's from the newer album from 2006, is A Challenge to the Cowards of Christendom. This is called Got Some Gospel for You. Enjoy, and I'll be back in a couple of minutes here. Hang tight for the rest of hour 2.
News, baby, news for you. Good news you can use. I got news, baby, news for you. I got news, yeah, real good news. I got news, news you can't refuse.
What an excellent song, or at least it's nice. Isn't that nice? I have some super chats to read, but first, more comments on the unions. One thing I forgot to mention about these unions was one thing I learned from Jesse Lee Peterson, and I honestly saw it before ever hearing about Jesse Lee Peterson, was that they target the angry. When he was at a hospital union or working for the hospital union, he would go after the angry. They would target the angry employees because the angry employees have a gripe. They don't want to look at themselves. They don't want to be good workers. They don't want to, whatever. As Ledge Klinger says, unions turned workers into wusses. He said a different word. But yeah, in a lot of ways, that is a fact. If a union was local in-house thing, run by and for the local workers only, that would be fine. But they're all run by national commie unions. Asmodor says conditions everywhere in every industry were bad in the 19th century and improved across the board with the influence created by the 20th century U.S. economy. Interesting. Well, guys, I appreciate it. This music will turn people away from God, says Gums84. Indeed. Indeed. Quick super chat from Jib Jab over there on streamlabs.com/the Hake Report. I tried to leave a super chat on the Fallen State that said, some people did something and they censored it. Yikes, LOL. Whoa. I wonder if that was an accident. Maybe some moderator had all thumbs and they accidentally censored it. Or maybe YouTube itself auto-censored it because it was a reference to Ilhan Omar saying, some people did something. And then after that, every Muslim care was created so that we can fight for our rights. Hake worships Satan. No, I don't. Not knowingly. Everybody who sins, who thinks you're supposed to continue to sin, say, oh, you're supposed to sin, but not knowingly, not willfully. This band is based, says Joseph King. No, I wouldn't go that far, man. I don't think these guys are that based. That band, dang, James, that band's production is awful. This is Tim Wheeler.
Some people did something.
Nice. That is Ilhan Omar. And Super Dave is no longer interested, I don't think. Mods be censoring like 90 going nose, says Nemo, who I thought that he thought that he was banned already from Hake. I still love you though, Hake, says Gums84. Yeah, honestly, I don't expect that band to be converting anybody. I mean, maybe they got people interested in the Bible, which is not that bad of a thing, but it is they're a bunch of liberals. All musicians are liberals. They target disgruntled employees, not angry employees, says Richard Del Monte. Another lie. What's the difference between a disgruntled employee and an angry employee? That's the same thing, dummy. And most of the time, somebody's disgruntled. They don't have a good cause to be disgruntled. They're just angry, bitter people. Azador says with the Trovo Super Cap, I worked for the AFL-CIO local sheet metal union at Carrier AC plant in the 1990s. Whether the caller disputes it or not, they started workers off at less than $7 an hour, and which was not that bad back in those days, I think. But anyway, and topped off assemblers at $11 an hour after 2 years. Average pay $9 an hour. No paid sick time. Wow. So they didn't even get much for the people, for the workers. Anyway, let me quickly get to Peter in Utah. He's been on hold. The first time caller, actually, from Utah. Peter, thank you for holding, man. What's up?
Hey, Hake, I just want to say thank you for your program, your lightheartedness, and you're celebrating heterosexual pride and white history.
Yeah.
And having a good time. I really like it.
Right on. I call it straight pride.
There you go.
Because heterosexual makes it sound weird. I think that's one of those
That's right.
communist buzzwords like cis to make a normal person seem abnormal too.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
$7 an hour, by the way, guys, wasn't much in the 90s. Okay, thank you, Ragnar. For some reason, I was thinking 70s. Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, I like straight as it's a better word. I appreciate your correction because, I think that it's only betas that fornicate. And
True.
Fornication could be, heterosexual, but that's still beta.
Yep.
So I appreciate that and what you guys do in taking a stand there. But I want to turn a little bit and address that last caller, that beta from Santa Monica. Be careful when you get the snakes from Santa Monica calling.
You think this guy's a snake? You think he's a beta and a snake?
I think he's
Mark.
Listen to this. This guy is so beta. He wants mama unions giving us. He's so thankful for mama unions.
Dang.
And instead of launching his ship out and being a man, and we have to look at economics appropriately. Look at supply side economics. He's looking at demand side, and we have to be get unionized, get unions to take care of us. And that's beta thinking. Instead, the economy is created by people launching out and creating wealth, creating something out of nothing. And wealth is created. It's not just distributed. And this guy, he should have a dream. a manly dream of having his own business and serving others in that way instead of being a cog in someone else's business.
Interesting. A lot of, I think that we should encourage people to branch out, take risks, do life with courage. And so I think there's some truth to that for sure, what you're saying.
Yeah, what's the name of the guy, that black dancing guy, dancing for Joel?
Joel Friday.
Yeah,
the
Joel
gifted
Friday.
of dance.
Dancing for Jesus. I mean, God bless him for launching out on his business and doing something, and working with Jesse was a great incubator.
Yeah.
For him to do that. And it takes guts to do that,
Yeah.
And of course, Jesse's whole program, he's launching out, he has launched out in unpopulated territory, and it took a lot of courage for Jesse to do that. And he's having fun and blessing people doing it. And, hats off to Jesse, hats off to Jake, and hats off to the anchor baby who's going to have his own show, too.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to hearing what comes out of Nick's new show in the new year. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, so wealth is created. We can do a lot better by having more businesses, by growing this economy, rather than, looking for the union nipple and to tuck us good night.
Man, that's cold, but I can't completely argue with you. I think that the unions have been a net negative for America. And yeah, I totally agree that so have these huge corporations. Look at them. They're all evil enemies of America. But we need, that's why we need the regular people to have businesses and these huge companies are in bed with the government, by the way. Completely in bed with the government. And I hear somebody made the point, I think Matt the American says that minimum wage, which has also been evil, is linked to the union pay scale. So when minimum wage goes up, so does union pay. What a mess. Minimum wage, I don't think it should exist. I could be wrong about that, but I think that you should not. I think you shouldn't interfere with the free contract between people.
Right. It's all based on envy,
A lot of that stuff is. That's true.
We've got to start celebrating wealth. Wealth is created.
I'll tell you, I don't think that, I don't consider Mark from Santa Monica to be a snake. I think that he's an old school guy. Yeah, I think he's an old school guy. He came from the union and he saw I think that he probably saw some good that happened in the unions back then, back when it wasn't so crazy and evil and anti-white, just outwardly anti-American. Because a lot of the people who are the liberals of old are now seeing that America has been betrayed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm saying most anyone from Santa Monica is an unwitting snake.
You could say people say that about California or Los Angeles, but I don't think that's I don't think that's true. There's you'll find a light in a dark place anywhere, man.
I escaped California, and I see what California has done to my siblings and many of my loved ones. So it's a disease that grows on people, and I'm sure you see it there. Thank God that you've got the vaccine against that.
The vaccine of truth. Well, thank you, man. Appreciate you, Peter. Take care.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Let me quickly get to my favorite caller. Yes, my favorite caller is on the line. Maze in Dayton, Ohio. How are you doing, Maze?
I'm doing okay, James.
Nice. Why aren't you doing Marvelous? Aren't you doing Marvelous usually?
Well, I'm doing that too.
Okay.
Well, we hear the union, Mark talking about the union. He's got a disease. The man was right. He has a disease, but it had nothing to do with a snake. And when it came to union, everybody didn't have to be a part of the union. And
When did they start forcing everybody to be part of the union?
Oh, people pay to be in the union. Everybody's not in the union.
Everybody is forced to pay and forced to be in the union in the teachers union.
Not all companies are not forced to pay.
Okay, well, teachers unions.
Some get a union and some don't. The reason they have the union is because they were child slave labor. Working people for nothing.
Yeah.
And then the reason some people are in unions, so when they can't get something done through some ignorant boss that's doing something to them, they can go to the union to get help. That's what it was for. And then the police union and the teachers union had nothing to do about all of the jobs that left this country, or the ones that are owned by other companies in this country. Had nothing to do because the police union and teachers union cannot feed America.
Well, we're not talking about just the police and teachers. We're talking about the actual labor unions, the people who are actually working.
Union, that's what it was for. And I'm saying, so since there is no labor in this country, and the immigrants was brought here for cheaper labor than the people that lived in this country, wasn't they?
True, many times they were.
Oh, and so they didn't have to abide
that's
by
why
the
a lot
union.
of that's why a lot of unions were against immigration, including Cesar. Was his name Cesar Chavez, who was against wetbacks? Cesar Chavez didn't like the wetbacks coming into the country because he was a Hispanic American union communist guy, so he didn't want the illegal alien wetbacks. His word, mine too.
How did the manufacturer leave this country anyway, and who sent them out of this country? It wasn't no black people. I want Mark to know that.
Oh no, it was blacks too. The blacks were heavily pro-union, including MLK himself.
I'm not talking. If you don't have no jobs in this country,
MLK was pro-union.
I'm asking you a question, James.
You asked me who made the jobs leave. I'll tell you.
Yes.
I'll tell you.
How did they leave?
Let me tell you.
Who made the agreement
Let me
leave
tell you if you be quiet and listen.
Listen.
Okay. First of all, I heard that NAFTA, these trade agreements between these countries, that caused some problems. That caused a lot of leaving of the jobs down to Mexico and China and elsewhere. I'll tell you, minimum wage. The raising of the minimum wage, which is an illegal thing. It's not unconstitutional. We're supposed to have freedom of association, right to make a contract between people. So we should not have any imposed minimum wage. And all these rules and regulations, some of them are overly burdenous. Trump himself knew that, and so he got rid of a lot of regulations. He
got rid of some. He sent a company out of here too. So why did he get rid of some regulations?
Because he was not able to get rid of those regulations when he was in the private sector. A lot of these private sector companies, a lot of them, they should prefer to keep it in America. But when it's not financially sensible to do it because of the government regulations and NAFTA and the government minimum wage, it only makes sense to ship them to China. Ship the manufacturing to China. So he's just being responsible.
No. If you had a
don't be calling him a hypocrite because of something that was set up before he was born.
No, I'm not saying. If you had a company here and you went and had your ties and your shirts made over in some other country, taking on wages and labor from other people in the country that you live in, what would you be in?
What? Say that again?
If you did that.
I tuned you out.
If you had your tie, some of y'all don't know what a tie is because y'all don't understand how to dress. Your shirts and your ties for men.
Yeah.
And you was having them made in another country, but you were bringing them back here, selling them just for cheap labor. Is that right?
Bringing immigrants here for cheap labor.
No, I'm saying
not
going over into the other countries, working cheap labor.
Shipping them overseas. Shipping them overseas. That's wrong. I don't like it too either. But it's part.
But guess who did that?
Who?
Trump. He was having his.
I just explained that to you. Are you slow, Miss? Are you slow? Are you slow?
Yes, I am, if you want me to be.
Because I already explained why Trump had to do that.
Oh, really?
Yes, duh.
Really, and he's still doing it.
Are you aware that the government has made it hard for companies to keep the work here? Mm-hmm. It's not only the company's fault that they're shipping jobs overseas. It's also the government itself. Duh. Man, you're slow.
And the companies are
you are slow.
They are going overseas.
Why are you're so slow.
So they can make cheap labor.
I didn't know you were this dumb.
I'm asking you this, James.
I didn't know you were. Oh, I actually knew that you were stubborn.
I'm asking you who was pocketing the money. Don't try to get in your feelings.
No, you are stubborn.
I asked you who was pocketing the money.
You are stubborn.
So you tell Mark it's whose fault it is. It's not the black people's fault.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And when it started somewhere else and
you're wrong.
labor.
You're wrong. You're wrong, Mace.
Tell me.
Blacks, the civil rights movement supported the unions. Did the civil rights movement not support the unions?
Of course
They supported the unions, which helped ship the jobs overseas. Duh.
We didn't help ship the jobs
Duh.
overseas. Reagan brought.
Duh.
You had people coming here working.
You're a sucker,
like
Maze.
You got the right to work states.
What about them?
Don't you? What?
Even in right-to-work states, they do things like start employees off on a 90-day probation period where they can be fired at any time without cause. On day 89, they bring you to the union stewards, and if you refuse to join, you're not hired on. Wow. So even those right-to-work states are corrupt.
And the people that benefited from the union...
Maze, are you not aware that many unions, you're forced to join the union?
What? No, you're not.
Yes, you are.
No, you are
Yes,
not.
you are.
If you say so, James.
Yes, I do say so.
What company do you own to tell me?
I don't have to own a company to know the truth.
Well, I'm saying, so when you got Mark sitting over there trying to blame black people for everything, saying that y'all don't have no help.
First of all, Mark didn't even. First of all, Maze, Mark didn't even mention the blacks. You just felt like he.
The blacks got somebody. Everybody got something.
Oh yeah, because they got the NAACP, which is against them.
No, and then he said the police union.
Yes, it is.
He don't like the teachers union, but he like the police union. Really?
So what?
What can it do for America?
The teachers unions are enemies of America. Anyway, I gotta go, Maze.
All right, you have a good one, James. So
You
next
too.
time, tell Mark to get rid of his rotten heart, and maybe he'll make himself a better person before he leaves this earth. Have a good one.
All right, bye. What a mess. Oh gosh, guys, I got a quick. I have more calls on the line. Man, I didn't know this union thing was gonna be so messy. Okay, but let me show you this thing because I keep on coming up with these stories about, oh, kids are getting the virus, or, oh, you have to be vaccinated. There was this person who was all fat who's like, oh, I was unvaccinated, and now I wish that I had gotten vaccinated. But he's all fat, or she was all fat. And then I see another one just over this weekend. Abby Chenoweth, age 16, Titusville 16-year-old, fighting pneumonia in both lungs at Arnold Palmer ICU, and it's from Florida Today. And Stephanie Chenoweth, presumably her mother, has a quote quoted by Emily Walker in Florida Today, or the editor of Florida Today, which is a spinoff of USA Today, I think, right? Just because you have a healthy 16-year-old doesn't mean they can't be attacked by this virus. If wearing a mask means you're not sitting in ICU like I am, sitting next to my daughter, watching her struggle to breathe, then wear a mask. So, but then you look at this poor girl, and that doesn't look like a healthy 16-year-old. What do you mean by healthy? Poor girl. But that's a fat girl. And that is not a healthy 16-year-old. Healthy as in, like, wasn't sick before she got sick? Is that what you mean? Wasn't obviously sick? What do they even mean? It's like, it's terrible. But that's what people are, and it's interesting that we're hearing from the mother. I wonder if the father's around. I saw this meme. Let me just briefly show this meme before I get back to calls, guys. I don't know where I saw this, but it reminds me of reality. It's like perfect. And in this meme, I shall describe it for the podcast listeners, that the media focus on so-called COVID deaths. So the media focuses on COVID deaths while they ignore heart disease from comfort consumption, suicides, missed cancer treatments. They didn't note down abortions. But basically, there's the mainstream media sitting at the base of a hill of a pile of skulls. Dead people. Dead! 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 To quote Sleepy Joe Biden, being all dramatic like he cares about dead people. And it's the media with a masked man wearing the COVID mask, China virus, communist mask, looking down at the hospital bed, poor old lady, And a lot of poor people, a lot of people are suffering in the COVID beds, hospitalized, some of them even dying. And I don't buy that this is a virus that doesn't exist. I think that it exists. I suspect that it was a la the illegal aliens disease, a result of the globalism mess. The corruption of the communists, right? In this case, the Chinese and the American communists. Enemies of America, including phony Fauci. And yeah, there are some people suffering, but meanwhile, they're ignoring all of the death and destruction of the stuff that they push, including black-on-black crime, abortion, which is another black-on-black crime, and all of this stuff. So they just selectively report stuff to hype it for their agenda, because they have an agenda of controlling the people. These pro-abortion people are disgusting. Oh, there was this story. Real quick, let me share with you, because somebody sent this to me. One of you guys, I think it might have been in the Twitter DMs or something. Before I get back to calls, so a lot of you guys still want to talk about unions and work, racism. Some people even want to talk about the N-word. The paradox of female happiness. By many objective measures, writes Betsy Stevenson of the Wharton School, University of PA, and Justin Wolfers of the Wharton School, University of Pennsylvania. And this is a draft of a write-up from 2008. You know, these phony academics make their papers, right? Or they're real academics, but they're phony people, right? So they write, Betsy and Justin write, by many objective measures, the lives of women in the United States have improved over the past 35 years. That's not true. I don't think that's true. Yet we show the measures of subjective well-being indicate that women's happiness has declined both absolutely and relatively to men. The paradox of women's declining relative well-being is focused on various data sets and measures of subjective well-being is pervasive across demographic groups in industrialized countries. Relative declines in female happiness have eroded the gender gap in happiness, in which women in the 1970s, this is from 2008, just before Obama was elected, right? But it hasn't changed. It's gotten worse, I would say. Gender gap in happiness, in which women in the 70s typically reported higher subjective well-being than did men. Did you know that? These declines have continued and a new gender gap is emerging, one with higher subjective well-being for men. And so they claim these phony people fall for the notion of the gender gauge WAP. Oops. the gender wage gap. What a mess. Partly closed. There is no such thing as the gender wage gap. And anyway, they shouldn't even be working in the first place, for the most part. Educational attainment has risen, now surpassing that of men. These are supposed to be good things. Women have gained unprecedented level of control over fertility. That's not a good, by that they mean they can use birth control and abortion for the most part. Yeah, and there's also like science that helps them be more fertile, I guess. But for the most part, they're talking about not having babies, which they think will make the women happier. No. Technological change in the form of new domestic appliances has freed women from domestic drudgery. Yeah, I know, the washing machine is pretty handy, right? Women's freedoms, both within the family and the market sphere, have expanded. Objective measures of feminine well-being since 1970, women made enormous gains. That's not objective. It's not objective to pretend that those things, more women working and being so-called educated and having less drudgery, has made them more miserable. Because it's not what they're built for. So this paper documents how they've gotten more miserable. Interestingly, But are they being trolls by pretending that these are good things? I don't know. Oh, by the way, they also talk about how men are starting to do more of the housework. Man, what a joke. What a terrible mess. And by the way, they talk about out of wedlock childbearing and how by age 15, about half of all children in the United States as of 2001 were no longer living with both biological parents, disproportionately impacting non-white women and white women with less education. Divorce and all that stuff. Misery. It's misery, but they're pretending that these are positive gains. But isn't it interesting? They're admitting that women are more miserable than ever. Indeed. Indeed. Thank you guys for the super chats. Hydro says over there on streamlabs.com/the Hake Report. Did Mark even bring up black people? Maze is such a hateful person. Well, Hydro, Mark made barely any mention of it. He said, blacks have the NAACP, which it doesn't help black people, it hurts them. And just like the unions don't help people, it hurts them. But it gets them a little bit of free stuff or ill-gotten gain. And the Hispanics have La Raza. So he made a passing mention of it. And because Maze hates white people so much, especially white men, telling the truth or saying something that is somewhat true or making a mention of blacks, she jumps on that. And he needs to mind his own business. How about she needs to mind her business? And she didn't even understand. Did you guys understand my point about Trump? Like, it's not a good gotcha to claim Trump ships jobs overseas. What's good about that? He was a working man working a company, and he had to because the conditions brought on by the government set it up so that it's not feasible to make them here. Duh. Anyway. Let me quickly get to Black Stepdad of California. He has some thoughts on a man who's probably talked about unions, I think, before. I'm not sure. Black Stepdad, how are you doing?
What's up, Hake?
Hey, it's good to hear from you.
Hey, what's up, bro? Hey, can you hear me fine?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Tell you, the last time I called is because I'm calling from work, and it's up there, up in, like, past Magic Mountain, you know? Up in those hills.
Nice.
So, anyway, back I'm home. I'm chilling. I'm on my Labor Day. You know how it is. Hey, I wanted to ask you, bro, what do you think about John Stossel?
Is he a libertarian? He's a guy, I like him. I haven't seen much from him lately, but I like him. Who is John Stossel for me? Tell the people who John Stossel is.
John Stossel is a journalist from back in the day. Yeah, you can call him on the libertarian side. You can call him on the left, but all that stuff is irrelevant, bro. It's it's the message that he's trying to say, you know, like, hey, like, think for yourself, you guys, you know, like, look at, he's reporting. That's all he's doing, you know. What made him really famous was back in the 80s, back in when WWE was WWF, and he had interviewed I don't know his name, but it was at the time of like Hulk Hogan and all that stuff, the real wrestlers, you know. So John Stossel interviews this guy, and he asks him, hey, you know what? I think wrestling is fake. And boom, he gets a right hand slap.
Oh, he said he thinks wrestling is fake, and he got hit?
He got hit. Well, at that time,
I didn't know that.
Back in the early 80s, when there was wrestling, Vince McMahon was really strict about keeping the character, keeping wrestling is real in the ring and outside of the ring.
Okay.
And that's something called keeping kayfabe.
Okay.
So John Stossel interviews this guy. He tells him, hey, I think wrestling is fake. And bam, he gets smacked. Was that fake? John Stossel gets back up. Boom, smacks him again.
Wow.
You can't tell me that it's fake. I work at this business. It's a tough business. That's why you little pansies can't take it. It's hilarious, bro. Whenever you get the chance, look it up.
Okay. Appreciate that. So John Stossel, guys, is an American... I never considered him left necessarily. Maybe center-left. libertarian television personality. And he's big on the
forever,
free. He's big on the free market, and he's written books like "Give Me a Break: How I Exposed Hucksters, Cheats, Scam Artists, and Became the Scourge of the Liberal Media."
Yep.
Why Government Fails But Individuals Succeed is another. No, they can't. Why Government Fails But Individuals Succeed.
Exactly.
Myths, Lies, and Downright Stupidity. And okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, he seems like a likable and pretty sensible guy in a lot of ways. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's tight, you know, but you're gonna get all those haters saying, "Oh, this guy's a soft and this and that and that." Like, those people are also small-minded too. You know what I mean?
But the wrestling, even back in the 80s, it was fake, but you had to be athletic to be able to pull it off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because I remember when I was a kid, I'm like, my siblings and cousins, we would watch it sometimes and be like, this is so fake, but you still watch it because it's funny and it's kind of
entertaining.
Yeah, it's entertaining.
It's not easy to be a 6'5" guy traveling around the country looking up 200 plus guys. You know, that ain't easy. But of course,
did John Stossel charge him with assault? Press charges?
Oh, I don't know about that. Probably not. I was back in the day, bro. You know,
the good old days.
Back in the day
when you'd have too much shame. Nice. I'll sue.
And I got another thing to say real quick while I got you on the line, bro.
Go for it.
Last week you had a caller, and I don't remember his name, but he was complaining about, oh, you can't say the N-word because that hurts our feelings, and oh, you can't say that like that. You know, I'm Latino. I'm Hispanic. I live out here in the valley, bro. You know, you see how it is up here. It's all beanerfied, you know?
Right. Yep.
And I totally get it when I'm gonna say it. When you're calling a nigga, you acting like a nigga, homie. You know, you need to chill out, bro.
Keep it clean.
Like,
we avoid saying it on air.
Yeah, well, whatever. I said it, but sometimes you gotta say it, bro, to make them understand and to make them to get it, you know. But I would understand if someone will tell me, "Hey, fool, you're acting like a beaner right now. You're acting like a wetback."
Right.
I totally get it because we do have beaners. We got the chunties. We got the paisas.
Right.
You know? I'm all about it, bro. Like my parents are I'm first generation Latino. My parents came here in the 70s.
Yeah.
So I grew up.
I get what you're
homies.
saying. There's a time and place. There's a time and place for it, and it's just that they hate. It's just that they want to control the whites.
And that's what I don't understand. Like, bro, like.
But you understand it. You understand it because because America has become so soft and easy to push around, and white people too, especially, and weak people get pushed around, and that's what happens.
Yeah,
they pretend that we're the perpetrators when we're the victims, and we shouldn't be. We shouldn't allow ourselves to be pushed around.
It ain't like that, bro. You know, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, well, it's a duck. You know.
Oh, I hear that. By the way, I hear. Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. Be able to call people what they are. This is America.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what.
Up, you know?
I'm hearing that Stossel was hit so hard he lost some hearing in one ear. He sued and was compensated.
There you go.
And that was the 70s, I think. Anyway.
Yeah, that was back in the day. It was tight. But when you get a chance, hey, check it out. It's tight.
I appreciate it, Black Stepdad. It's good to hear from you, man. Take care. I got to keep moving.
All right, cool. I got you. See you, bro.
All right. Bible go-to guy out of Los Angeles, California. How are you doing, man?
Great. Thank you. Yeah, James, you already covered what I was going to say, which was, it's what I would always tell, union workers is that you guys didn't bring the middle class into place. What brought the middle class into place is when the U.S. shut down immigration for many years.
That's what brought the middle class? Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So Mark in Santa Monica, if you're listening, listen to Bible Go-To Guy. He says we shut down. Yeah, we had no immigration was that in the 20s?
Yeah,
I forget when it was.
Years.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, man. Somebody with history.
Even the union, when the union's going on strike, what do? They restrict labor from going into the company.
Right.
So when you keep
and you're a scab if you go work.
Yeah, remember the Chinese, the railroad was built by the Chinese?
Yes.
There you go. They imported cheap labor. And
Yeah.
that should not have been allowed.
Right.
It should have been for American citizens, and the wages would have been higher, and conditions and everything. When you restrict labor, you control the wealth of the low wage earner, because there's not a lot of them, and so the companies will compete for their labor.
Right. Yeah.
It's simple. It's real simple. I mean, you said it yourself. You said Cesar Chavez understood this. He was trying to organize unions, and yet he had all these wetbacks, as he called them. Right? It was a common term.
Right.
He called them coming in and messing up his plans, to unionize the farm workers, because they would undercut his wages.
Right.
By being willing to work for cheaper.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I had not even considered that aspect of the was it the Immigration Act of, wait, what is this guy saying? Immigration was highly restricted by the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1924. Or just the Immigration Act of 1924. Wow.
Yeah, there was a few times where the U.S. cut down on immigration.
And they pretended that the Chinese Exclusion Act was racist. Well, who cares? I mean, we needed to protect America and American workers. What a mess. Wow.
Right.
We needed to be more nationalistic. Shame.
Yeah.
What an absolute disgrace. Well, thank you, Bible Go-To Guy. I appreciate that.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
All right. Bye. Quickly, let me get to Jesse, a second-time caller from Los Angeles, California. What's up, Jesse?
Hey, James.
How are you?
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
What I wanted to tell you about the union thing is that, I worked as a union steward, and then I worked for the union as an organizer. And the unions are not for the people. The unions are for money and for themselves. And what they do is, when they can get you what seem to be high wages, they also charge you higher dues, union dues.
Yeah.
And so the employees really don't get the money as they think they will. And it goes to the unions, and the unions support the Socialist Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Most, if not all, maybe there's one that supports the union itself, not the people, but the union support. But the unions are no good, and most companies don't want them because they get in all these lazy people and most of the people who complain to the union are those who are no good, know how, lazy workers.
Yeah.
Don't show up, complaining. Even when and I believe it was SCLIOU, whatever. I think it was that when they started doing the so-called civil rights movement, and they went for the angry blacks, so that the angry blacks was easy to draw in to form a union.
Yeah.
The unions are no good, and most businesses do not want unions.
The SEIU you mentioned, the Service Employees International Union, and they're disgusting. They support all that. To this day, they're supporting that Black Lives Matter mess and all that. I had a friend who worked at a vector control way out in the boonies, and his people, some of them were wanting to join a union, and it was this big controversy. I don't think he wanted to do it, but you're right. It was the angry, blind people who wanted to join it. And they're not even working there anymore. Right.
And they're no good workers. That's why when we would go and organize, we would always look for the angry worker.
Yeah.
And 90% of the time it was the blacks.
Right.
Who didn't show up or half-ass work or not halfway work. I'm too comfortable.
Thank you for respecting my show. This is a child-friendly show.
But the unions are no good. If anybody ever tried to bring a union to my company, I would fire them right away.
Nice.
That's why the unions sneak around and get in, because the decent employees don't even want a union. It hurts them and their salary and morale and everything else.
Right.
It's only the complaining people, and the unions are for the government. They're not for the people.
I think that I think we brought in evil, huge people. Look to these huge organizations, kind of like with the conservatives, I had a caller looking to, he's at this college and they have, Turning Point USA. Turning Point is this huge organization that they're not really for conservatism. They're kissing up to the gays and the women and the POCs and all that stuff. And looking to huge organizations is an enemy to America because these huge organizations are all corrupt. The unions, the big corporations like Google, Apple, all that stuff. But people want to bandwagon onto these things and support it. And you're right, because they try to keep people spoiled enough to be happy slaves, is what I see socialism as in this union stuff.
We used to go around and get the Mexicans, the housekeepers and things like that, and talk to them and get them angry about working for little money.
Yeah.
And we would organize them and call protests so that they can intimidate the job, the businesses, so they can get more money. But before we were irritated, they weren't even angry before. They were satisfied.
Yeah.
But because the union needed more money, they would look for those people.
That's like,
and you're trained to do that kind of stuff.
That's like the serpent in the garden, getting Eve to want to be equal with God by getting knowledge.
Absolutely. and as last thing before, as far as middle class, when I was growing up, I never heard of middle class.
Yeah, me neither.
It was just working people, working family, doing their thing. But now they've created the middle class versus the rich, and they make the middle class feel less than, and that's another way of divide and conquer.
Right. Yeah.
Because I didn't hear that until I moved out here to L.A.
I think that's a communist idea, this class warfare thing. The middle class, like who wants to even be in the middle class? You want to be either the best or you want to just be you. But they have low class, middle class, upper middle class. And I get it.
Everything is about divide.
Yeah.
Everything is about divide and conquer.
Right. That's true.
Amazing.
Thank you, Jesse. Nice to hear from you.
Amazing show, Hake.
Appreciate it.
I hear that you have good hair and you're on fire.
Nice.
I like the way you told T how the cow ate the cabbage.
Yeah, he's such a nosy mess of a person. And he makes these side comments to introduce like doubt in people. And
he's just like a woman.
Yeah. And that works on some of the women, I've noticed. They start to believe that stuff. So wrong.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jesse. Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye. Asmodor says unions stifle productivity. Yeah. And the desire for employees to excel because better jobs and better pay grades are allotted solely by seniority, not merit. Yeah. And that's similar to what the great American historian Dinesh D'Souza said, tongue-in-cheek a little bit, but he said that about slavery, it was basically, it stifled them from doing great because they weren't rewarded sufficiently for their work. Interesting. Guys, we are at the top of the hour. I gotta end. Let me see if I can squeeze in Chris from California. He's been on hold forever. Chris, real fast, you have 20 seconds. Go.
Hey, I can't cover in 20 seconds, but
sorry about that, man.
It's all good, bro. I'll call back tomorrow.
Okay, well, take care. Chuck in Detroit, the rest of the callers, Jeremiah in Louisiana. I could not get to all of you. The callers, hopefully I'll be back tomorrow. We will not have a holiday tomorrow, so it is, and actually, honestly, today was, Labor Day is not holy, but every day is holy, right? Anyway, guys, thehakereport.com for my stuff, jesseleepeterson.com for JLP's stuff, rebuildingtheman.com/church for the church with Jesse Lee Peterson stuff. Need a third hour, says the Clintoning. Well, guys, take care.